Before we start, tell me where you're listening from in the comments. Maybe you're someone who struggles to get up in the morning. Maybe you've never thought about when your best ideas come. Maybe you think successful people just work harder or are smarter. Or maybe you believe creativity is just a natural talent you're born with. This conversation is for you. I'm going to tell you a secret that changed my life. Tesla's biggest breakthroughs, SpaceX's boldest decisions, Neuralink's most radical ideas. Most of them were born at 4 a.m., in the silence when the world sleeps. This isn't just about waking up early. This is about discovering when the human mind is most creative. This is about getting away from noise and allowing real thinking to emerge. Today I'll tell you what happens in those quiet hours, how I think, and how this routine transformed into world-changing ideas. After listening to this conversation, you'll see 4 a.m. differently. Not just as the end of sleep, but as the beginning of creativity. The power of silence. When the world sleeps, ideas awaken. Every night I try to go to bed at 11 p.m. But often my mind doesn't stop. Tesla's production problems, SpaceX's next launch, Neuralink's latest experiments. These keep spinning in my head. But this isn't a problem, because the problems I can't solve at night, I solve at 4 a.m. At 4 a.m., I wake up without an alarm. I've been doing this for 20 years. My body clock has adapted to this routine. For the first 10 to 15 minutes, I don't do anything. I just lie in bed and listen. The house is silent. The children are sleeping. No noise from the outside world. This silence is the most valuable thing you can find in modern life. Most people are afraid of silence. They immediately grab their phone, turn on music, watch TV. But I embrace silence, because in this silence, my mind works most clearly. At 4:15 a.m., I get out of bed and go to the kitchen. I don't drink coffee, I drink water. Caffeine disrupts the mind's natural clarity. Water is the only thing the body needs after 7 to 8 hours of dehydration. Then I go to the window and look outside. A dark and silent world. This is my laboratory. When the mind is most creative between 4:30 to 6 a.m. is my creativity window. During these hours, my mind is at its clearest, most focused state. During the day there are constant interruptions, meetings, phone calls, emails, questions from employees. But at 4 a.m., none of that exists. During these hours, I do first principles thinking. That means I think about everything starting from the most fundamental truths. For example, rocket fuel is said to be very expensive. But why? Because the rocket itself isn't reused. Well, why isn't it reused? Because everyone thinks it's impossible. But is it really impossible? These kinds of questions come more clearly at 4 a.m. Because there's no mental noise, no social pressure. No, this is how it should be thinking. Just pure logic and creativity. In 2002, when I was thinking about founding SpaceX, at 4 a.m. I thought, why is the space industry so expensive? Because everyone uses the same old methods. But what if we started from scratch? What if we made rockets like manufacturing computers? What if we used horizontal integration instead of vertical integration? These questions were born at 4 a.m. If it were daytime, I would have thought, there are people with 50 years of experience in this industry. Who are you? But at 4 a.m., there are no such limitations. Tesla's birth, a 4 a.m. epiphany. In 2003, before meeting Martin Eberhard, the moment I started thinking about electric cars was at 4:30 a.m. I was standing in the garage, looking at my old Lotus Elise. Beautiful car, but it burns fuel, creates emissions. In that silence, I thought, what if we remove this car's engine and put batteries in its place? What if we installed an electric motor? Everyone says electric cars are slow and ugly. But why? Electric motors are much more efficient than combustion engines. They give instant torque. They run silently. The problem isn't in the technology, it's in the approach. That morning at 4:45 a.m., the core ideas that formed Tesla's foundation were born. Electric cars need to be sexy. We need to start from the luxury segment and work down. We need to develop battery technology inspired by laptop batteries. These ideas would never have been born in daytime meetings. Because during the day, everyone would say, electric cars don't sell. There's no infrastructure. Too expensive. But at 4 a.m., these barriers aren't visible. Only possibilities are visible. SpaceX's biggest breakthrough. Reusable rockets. In 2006, after our third Falcon 1 rocket exploded, one morning at 4:20 a.m., I was sitting in the kitchen thinking, money was running out. Investors were pulling out. Everyone was saying, private companies can't go to space. In that silence, this came to mind. Airplanes aren't thrown away after every flight. Why are rockets thrown away? Because the technology doesn't exist? No, because no one tries. What if we succeeded in bringing the rocket back? What if we could land it? Everyone would say I was crazy. They would say, bringing rockets back is impossible. But at 4 a.m., there's no such thing as impossible. There's only not done yet. That morning until 6 a.m., I designed in my mind how the rocket could come back. Grid fins, engine relighting, precision landing. These technologies were born that morning. 10 years later, Falcon 9 came back and changed the space industry. Neuralink, the brain-computer bridge. In 2016, AI development was starting to worry me. AI was developing very fast, but humans weren't developing at the same speed. One morning at 4:10 a.m., I thought, what if humans could develop along with AI? What if we directly connected our brains to computers? It seemed crazy, but at 4 a.m., crazy ideas are the most logical ones. That morning I developed Neuralink's basic concept. Thin wires implanted in the brain, creating a bridge between neurons and computers, healing paralysis patients, eventually creating human-AI symbiosis. If I had pitched this idea in a daytime meeting, everyone would say, this is science fiction. But at 4 a.m., the line between science fiction and science is very thin. What matters is what's possible, not what's popular. The Boring Company. Traffic solution. In 2016, I was stuck in LA traffic. At home, at 4:30 a.m., thinking about this experience, it occurred to me, what if we made roads 3D? What if we dug tunnels underground? What if we transported cars on platforms like skateboards? No one would think this was logical. They would say, digging tunnels is too expensive. Permits can't be obtained. The technology doesn't exist. But at 4 a.m., these barriers aren't visible. Only solutions are visible. That morning I developed the Boring Company's main ideas. Faster tunnel boring, cost reduction, transportation network under the city. Now there's a working system in Las Vegas. The neurological advantages of 4 a.m. Why 4 a.m.? Not just for silence. The brain is in optimal state at this hour. Cortisol levels. Between 4 to 6 a.m., cortisol naturally rises. This isn't a stress hormone. It's an arousal hormone. It sharpens the mind, increases focus. Default mode network. At night, the brain works in default mode. It makes subconscious connections, consolidates memories, generates creative solutions. At 4 a.m., this process is still active. Dopamine balance. Since the day's stress hasn't started yet, dopamine levels are balanced. This is ideal for creativity and motivation. Alpha waves. During the transition between wakefulness and sleep, the brain produces alpha waves. These waves are perfect for creative thinking. Glucose levels. Nighttime fasting optimizes the brain's glucose consumption. In the morning, the mind works most efficiently. First principles thinking. The 4 a.m. methodology. My way of thinking at 4 a.m. is very specific. I use a method I call first principles thinking. Step 1. Question everything. There's no such thing as this is how it should be. Question every assumption fundamentally. Step 2. Find fundamental truths. Laws of physics, mathematics, natural laws. These don't change. Everything else can change. Step 3. Build from scratch. Design new solutions starting from fundamental truths. Don't imitate existing systems. Example, rocket fuel is expensive. Why? Because rockets are single use. Why single use? Because everyone does it that way. But physically, why can't a rocket come back? It can. So how do we bring it back? This thinking system works best at 4 a.m. because social conditioning is minimal, creativity is maximal. The creative power of solitude. The most valuable feature of 4 a.m. is solitude. This solitude isn't something to escape from, but a treasure to seek. In the modern world, we're constantly connected. Social media, messages, news, music. Our minds never get to rest in silence. But creativity is born in silence. Solitude allows the mind to enter self-repair mode. Information fragments collected during the day combine. New connections form. Original ideas are born. The greatest thinkers worked in solitude. Einstein thought alone. Tesla invented alone. Darwin developed his theory alone. Creativity isn't crowd work, it's individual work. At 4 a.m., I too become part of this tradition. Data science didn't exist 200 years ago, but the rules of creativity are the same. Silence, focus, free thinking. Moments when big decisions are made. The most important decisions of my life were made at 4 a.m. Decision to sell PayPal. 2002, 4:45 a.m. Whether to accept eBay's offer. Use the money for space and electric cars. Big risk, but bigger opportunity. Decision to invest in Tesla. 2004, 4:20 a.m. Invest all PayPal money in electric car startup. Everyone said I was crazy. But at 4 a.m., logic seemed very clear. Decision to found SpaceX. 2002, 4:30 a.m. Enter the space industry. I had no experience. But with first principles thinking, everything seemed possible. Mars mission decision. 2005, 4:15 a.m. SpaceX's ultimate goal being Mars. Crazy, but necessary. These decisions couldn't have been made in daytime meetings. Because during the day, everyone tries to be logical. But at 4 a.m., logic works differently. It thinks long-term, sees the big picture. Details of my morning routine. Here are the exact details of my 4 to 6 a.m. routine. 4 to 4:15. I lie in bed and think. I don't use any devices. 4:15 to 4:30. I drink water and look out the window. The mind is clearest at this hour. 4:30 to 5. I think about the main problem. The most important issue I need to solve at Tesla, SpaceX, or Neuralink. 5 to 5:30. I take notes on solutions. But not in a notebook. Mental notes. Writing disrupts the flow of thought. 5:30 to 6. I plan the next day. But not detailed, big picture. 6 o'clock. I shower and start daily life. I've been doing this routine for 20 years. Traveling, sick, on vacation. In every situation. Because I know these hours are the most valuable part of my day. The morning lesson. I teach my children. My children sometimes ask me why I get up so early in the morning. I explain it like this. When the world sleeps, ideas wake up. The best thoughts are born in silence. Great people are great thinkers because they make time to think. I don't force them, but I explain the power of 4 a.m. Maybe they don't understand now, but they'll remember when they grow up. XA8 Selling asked me last week, Dad, can I also wake up early in the morning and think like you? My heart ached, but I was proud. The seed of creativity has been planted. Thinking without technology. At 4 a.m., I don't use any technology. No phone, no computer, no music. Just brain. This is very important because technology disrupts the mind's natural flow. A notification comes on the phone, attention is scattered. Music changes emotional state. News increases stress. But in a technology-free environment, the mind works in its natural state. Connections form spontaneously. Creativity flows naturally. It's paradoxical, but the best ideas for developing technology are born in technology-free environments. Thinking versus planning. At 4 a.m., I think, I don't plan. The difference is very important. Planning. Working with current realities. We currently have these resources, these constraints. Let's make a plan accordingly. Thinking, removing boundaries. What if there were no constraints? What if everything were possible? What would we do? Thinking provides raw material for planning. First you think and create vision, then you plan and implement. 4 a.m. is vision time. Daytime is implementation time. Dealing with failure. At 4 a.m., I don't just think about successes. I also face failures. When 3 rockets exploded at SpaceX, when Tesla nearly went bankrupt, when experiments failed at Neuralink, I process these difficulties at 4 a.m. At this hour, failure doesn't hurt. It's just data. Why did it fail? What did we miscalculate? How do we do better next time? Emotional reactions happen during the day, but at 4 a.m., there's only logic. That's why even in the most difficult times, I trust 4 a.m. Conclusion: your 4 a.m. people who listen to this conversation usually fall into 2 groups. Those who say this makes sense, and those who say I'm not a morning person. To the second group, I say this isn't about being a morning person. This is about finding the moments when your mind works clearest. For you, it might not be 4 a.m., maybe 11 p.m., maybe 2 p.m. What matters is finding and protecting those quiet, uninterrupted, creative moments. But let me also say this: 4 a.m. has its own unique advantages. The world is sleeping, no expectations. Phone doesn't ring, no emails. At these hours, the mind is truly free. If you want big changes in your life, if you're looking for big ideas, if you want to unleash your creativity, try 4 a.m. The first week will be hard. The second week, you'll get used to it. After the third week, you'll be addicted, because you'll realize that your best version emerges at 4 a.m. Clearest thinking, most creative solutions, boldest decisions, all are born in that silence. Share this video with everyone who's afraid of waking up early but has big dreams. Subscribe because I'll continue sharing the deepest secrets about success. And remember, success isn't just working harder, it's thinking smarter. And smart thinking starts at 4 a.m. Let's meet tomorrow at 4 a.m. There you'll find the ideas that will change your world.